Is the personal assessment presented by Bill Haas, Bridget's father.
Bridget's underlying condition is and has been since birth congenital spastic diplegia compounded with central auditory imperception. In layman's terms, that means she has cerebral palsy and she is nonverbal, and her intellectual disability is in the profound range. Bridget lived at home with the family until she was about 14 years old. She was in one facility in Portsmouth, Virginia, in the Murray Training Center in Illinois, an institution, and then for some 17 years at Partlow in Tuscaloosa. At that time, we brought her out, and she's been in her own home since. I think everybody here is pretty well familiar with her history. The problem we've had this past year is we're noticing a severe decline in the ability to walk with the arm crutches, and the left leg not functioning as it should. We have taken her down to Lakeshore and enrolled her in programs there. At the present time, she rejects using the new step, and she liked initially in the swimming, where she could walk and get exercise in the pool, but she's gotten so lately, she's not so happy about that either. Where we go from here to keep her mobile, I simply at this point don't know. She's been seen by a neurologist, by a neurosurgeon, and nobody seems to have the answer for us. So that's where we stand right now. But that is something we're going to have to address, is her mobility. Do I have any questions?
I do not. Okay, the next assessment we'll go to is the Waiver Report. Don Coates, Jefferson County, IDDA, Case Manager. Go ahead, Don, take it away.
Okay, so miles a week, case management, specialized medical supplies, 1 unit per month, and she gives personal care, 64 units a day, and residential, OLA, 32 units a day.
Perfect, thank you very much. I am going to have you roll right into the rights assessment. I got you back to back here.
You got me back to back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hi, did you mention speech therapy, or does that come out?
That she does through her insurance and private pay, correct?
Okay, that's right. I'm so sorry.
That's not actually
Never
on her
mind.
waiver services.
Never mind. I forgot.
She doing that through her Medicare,
Yeah,
Medicare,
I think.
yeah.
Medicare.
Okay. You said rights assessment or safety assessment?
We'll do the rights first.
Okay, so we did her rights assessment back in May, when we were doing all of her waiver stuff and pre-meeting stuff. And pretty much in terms of her rights, Mr. Haas and Alex and I met him, we talked about it, and pretty much she needs assistance to exercise her rights, to make sure they're not violated. And we pretty much, because she didn't give us a whole lot of indication other than her personal preferences and who she likes to be around and doesn't like to be around. And just from knowing her, we basically deducted that the most important rights to her is living in her home, having a guardian, which may not be important to her, but is important for her, because her parents do advocate for her quite a bit. choice with her special groups, the kids, was it 9 or 8 to
Right now it's 8 to 16.
16. So that was basically what we had talked about in her pre-meeting. And I know that she's been doing, was it one new group a quarter, or?
Yep. We had a
Quarter.
goal of meeting one new group a quarter.
So, and I know she's been doing that. I wanna say, I haven't opened the May report yet. I think I got it yesterday or the day before. I haven't been in the office, but, I know that, I think she's pretty much met that goal. I've been doing those groups, so,
She's been doing really well with that.
yes.
Okay, we will go back to key assessment.
We tried first giving her a key. She looked at it, played with it, threw it over her shoulder. She didn't want anything to do with it. She did not associate the key with coming or going. We thought that perhaps, since she usually goes in the car, that she would associate the garage door opener with her ability to leave the house or enter the house. So we showed her how to work it and gave her a garage door opener, and she threw that over her shoulder. So at the present time, I have her key to the house, and if she ever says she wants it, she can have it.
To the medical assessment, and she RN.
Passed out on June 11th of last year and was taken to the ER. And at that point, it was determined that she was impacted and that most likely strained in and pushing on the artery was the cause of her passing out. We created a plan where if she does not have a bowel movement in 48 hours, we double her dose of Miralax, and if she doesn't have one in 72 hours, then she gets magnesium citrate to induce a bowel movement. And that has worked, and she hasn't had any trouble with that recently. And then on June the 27th, they did another ultrasound, which is her, Dr. Thomas is her OBGYN. They did an ultrasound and found that this had been resolved, and they also checked that she has fibroids, and they were smaller. She had no polyps, and she's doing well on that part. She did get another depot shot, and to help with her cycle each month, and that stopped that, and I think they give her another one, or they stopped it and it resumed, then they give her another one, and since then has stopped again, so she's good on that part. She saw a cardiologist on August 21st of last year, Dr. Paul. He recommended we record her blood pressure over the next few weeks. He saw the results and prescribed lisinopril to help lower her blood pressure. We also were directed to change her seizure medication and her muscle relaxant medication, and not to give them at the same time. And this is to help with with her passing out, the episodes that she was having with fainting. In August, she broke out with a rash. She saw her primary doctor, Dr. Delaney, and a dermatologist over the next few months to determine what was causing the rash. After trying a number of creams and pills, the rash sustained and subsided in January. Bridget saw Dr. Law, her CP doctor, who increased her baclofen from 15 milligrams to 3 times a day to 20 milligrams 3 times a day. Bridget sees Dr. Collins, a chiropractor, every few weeks to help with her ambulation. She did receive the shingle shot in June of this year, and she just sees her dentist on a regular, quarterly, and everything looks good on that.
To you for the safety assessment.
Okay. We did, her safety assessment, same time with her pre-meeting, and basically, as in last year, there haven't really been any significant changes on what she can do in terms of guarding for her safety. So pretty much 24-hour staffing who assist her to maintain her independence and ensure her safety.
Thank you very much. Now we will go over to Becky Adams, communication assessment. She is a speech language pathologist here at United Ability.
Thanks, Alex. We've had a good year. We've had progress. We did some data collection recently, and that data reflects 100% accuracy in choice making of a field of 2. One of our goals for this year was to get pointing, and if when she presented with 2 items, that she would point to the one that was preferred. And these are high preferred kinds of things that she really, really loves. And she did really well, because we want this functional reaching out, pointing to objects that she wants. We want to develop that. That's just a functional skill. You may see it at home, but I wasn't seeing it in therapy, and I wanted to see more of it in therapy. And so that was really nice to see happen, her reaching out and making a choice. She averaged between 68 and 81% accuracy in very topic-specific activities that were message-based responses. She partially met the goal for the year with the word eat. It was about 85% accuracy. The word more, 81% accuracy. The word open, 77% accuracy. Need help, 73% accuracy. And what was really nice to see this year was her yes-no answering. I think that's very important for Bridget to develop. So we're starting to see this, and we're starting to see this. And we're also starting to see it on her device. And so in therapy, that's that beginning, that simple yes. And this is with a model. This is with a model that we started out with. And Bridget would, in her wheelchair, go, like that. And that was really good to see. And we're also trying to get it on the communication device as well, a yes-no answer. And we're beginning to see that come along. And I think that if we could get Bridget to do some pointing and to answer some yes-no questions, that would be really good functional skills for her to, those would be very good functional skills for her to have. So that's kind of what we're going to continue to focus on this coming year. Any questions?
Perfect. No, that was awesome. Does anybody have any questions?
We did, also I want to mention, we did see some spontaneous yes-no answering, which was really nice to see. Not modeled, not cued.
Thank you very much
You're welcome.
for a typical day assessment.
Right. Every day, she wakes up around 8 a.m. and for the next half hour, she does her leg, arm stretches, goes to the bathroom, gets her a delicious cup of hot coffee in a bath. Some days, on the weekends, she likes to sleep in a little later. She then gets dressed and has leisure time before breakfast at 9 a.m., where she focuses on goals and training of picking up after herself. At breakfast, lunch, and dinner, we focus on Bridget's communication and table manner goals in training. All meals are planned by her mother and well balanced. After breakfast, Bridget goes to the bathroom and we leave for Lake Shore on Mondays and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. till 11:30. The Tuesdays, she meets with us and works on improving her communication abilities. She stays at her house where I and the rest of her team work with her to implement her communication goals and allow her to participate in activities she enjoys, such as playing with children, solving puzzles on her own, which she's very good at that. Weekends are similar. During this time, we focus on her goals, training, and communication, social interactions, walking, strength training, depending on the day. We usually get back from United Ability or are done with communication and puzzles by 12 o'clock when Bridget goes to the bathroom again. She then has leisure time where she enjoys time to herself in her chair with diaper tabs and magazines. She needs some me time. Me too. After lunch, we go to the bathroom and get ready for our community outing. And in the afternoons, community outings are typically from 2 to 4:30 and range from going to the zoo, being around kids, going for a drive, going to Walmart, if that's where she wants to stop, and attending community events. When we get back to the house, Bridget has her own leisure time before dinner at 6. After dinner, we focus on leisure time training, toileting, dental, bathing, leg and hand exercise, before she goes to bed at night. She usually sleeps well through the night until 8 in the morning when she wants her coffee.
Is QDDP, and also she is the older sister of Bridget for our current year Learning Opportunities Assessment.
This year, she had 3 categories of goals. The first one addressed communication, and there were 2 objectives there. The hope was that she would independently select activities that she wanted to do 80% of the time, and she averaged 89%, so she met that target. That's been pretty consistent over the years. She's met it pretty much every month. The second objective was from her tech talk with 8 messages to generate 3 out of 8 messages for 50% of the time for what she would like to do. And she averaged around 57 for the year, sometimes a little lower, sometimes a little higher. So she's made good progress, as Becky noted, using that tech talk. The second goal area was natural support network, and there were, again, 2 objectives in this area. One was for Bridget to have meaningful interactions in the different groups she was in, and she did that every month. The second one was to introduce a new natural support network each month, something different, and that was done for every month except for 3. And just at the beginning of the plan year, it was tough to think of new activities that she could do. So once we got that rolling, it was rolling. The second goal area was mobility, which is critical for her. And one was for her to cooperate with her range of motion exercises 80% of the time, and she met that. She's at 97%, so she cooperated every month for the most part, at least at 80%. Another objective in this area was for her to initiate coming to lunch when she was notified that lunch was ready. And the target was for her to do that 80% of the time. She was all over the board on this one. She averaged 69%, so sometimes, some months she was at 50%, some months she was, over 90%. Some of it was based on what was being served.
As small as she wanted to get up.
She felt like she wanted to get up. The last objective for mobility was for her to independently operate the new step. And I don't know that she's ever really gotten to the full independent level with the new step. This has not been the love of her life ever. We've had this on her plan for years. So the average was pretty low, it was in the 30s. And the last month she didn't use the new step at all because she was reintroduced to the pool, which is really great. And Alex, you told me she's doing 30 to 45 minutes in the pool?
In the beginning, yeah, she's kind of stepping back down a little bit.
Now she's trying to do 20 or less.
Uh-huh.
So it's losing its novelty, but
Pretty much basically when she
Yeah,
goes,
I see
running
that.
around. She knows, she's smiling.
And she used to really enjoy the pool for extended periods of time. And then something happened and she just refused to get into the pool. So I was delighted to hear that, I was delighted to hear you were back in that pool. That's good for you.
Is it inside or outside?
it's an insight.
And with my parents' house, it was the outside pool. She would walk around the perimeter nonstop, and we had to yank her out and like, you're turning into a prune, come on. And then she just abruptly refused to even get in.
I think something happened at Partlow. I think they had a pool there. I think maybe she got too much water. Sometimes someone wasn't watching her.
I don't know. I know when I was there, the pool wasn't operational.
You know, they had it working at one time again.
But she seems to be doing well and getting some, ambulation in the pool and moving around. So
She used to love our
she's
pool,
using her
but she
legs.
won't go down there anymore.
They used to have a therapy pool there, but it was not working.
Yeah.
The outside pool was working. That big swimming pool up front was working.
Yeah.
I don't know if they ever took her out there or not.
So overall, she met her communication goals, she met her natural support network goal, and she met 1 out of 3 mobility goals.
Perfect, thank you very much. Okay, this brings us up to where we are today, over the last 12 months. So where Bridget is, what she's accomplished. And moving forward, I'd like to introduce Mrs. She is from Region 5. She is the DD Quality Enhancement person there at Region 5. To help us lead through designing the next 12 months of Bridget's life. The goals, what's important to her, what we're going to track, and how, helping Bridget really design the next year. Go ahead, Kim, take it away.
All right. Good morning, everybody.
Good
morning. If I may ask if everyone will introduce themselves, because I don't, excuse me, I don't know everybody. And I just kind of want to know what your relationship is to Bridget. I've heard some of you speak from your assessments, but it would be great if I could just kind of associate who's working with who and who's not. So I'm the Quality Enhancement Specialist for Region 5 Community Services.
Speech-language pathologist.
And you here at United Building, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I'm at United Ability. I've been here for 5 years. I've known Bridget for almost 12 years and really enjoy working with her.
All right, Alicia, her daytime caregiver.
I'm her weekend, night, day caregiver, and house manager. Okay.
Connie Cumber, this nurse.
Dawn's my case manager.
I'm Bridget's father and legal guardian.
Okay.
And I'm her mother.
I'm Don's family friend.
Okay.
I'm Jane Fuller, I'm the QDDP, and I'm also her older sister.
Okay.
I'm Mallory, and I'm her caregiver.
Okay.
I'm Alex, and I'm Executive Director at BHI and also Bridget's nephew.
All right. Well, thank you. Now I know how everybody's associated. First of all, let me start off by saying this part of the process. Oh my God, I tore that. In this part of the process, we focus really on what's important to Bridget and what is meaningful to her. Understanding that there are various assessments that give a certain perception of her abilities, her capabilities, her level of understanding. We don't really apply those clinical assessments to this part. This part more focuses on who Bridget is as a person, who Bridget is aside from what paperwork says she is or how paperwork describes her. So I'm going to ask questions just about her day, what she likes, who she likes, why she likes them, you know, what indicators we get that these things are important to her. Also in this part where we talk about her goals, it is not my priority to determine whether or not it's a goal she can ultimately accomplish. My priority is to basically find out what makes her tick, what makes her happy, what gives her joy, and how we can incorporate those things into her life so that she can enjoy those and have more experiences with those things aside from the barriers. And we do talk about the barriers, so I don't want you guys to think I'm kind of like a person that's, you know, sipping the happy Kool-Aid and think that everything's going to be great and there aren't going to be any barriers. We do take into account the barriers, and sometimes the barriers keep us from the goal, but we want the barriers to be last. So even though we discuss barriers, even though we know they're there, we don't want the barriers to determine the goals. So are there any questions about how this train is going to ride? I usually push the train pretty fast. I am very conscientious of your time, and I don't want you guys to get exhausted, and I definitely don't want Bridget to get exhausted with this process. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to go down the line talking about these things as it pertains to Bridget. We did have her pre-meeting on Tuesday, and I got some great information from that pre-meeting. I intentionally did not bring any of that stuff with me because I want us all to discuss, even though I have an idea of who Bridget is based on the pre-meeting and based on talking with her staff and Alex and visiting with her for about an hour on Tuesday. I just wanted us as a team to kind of discuss Bridget. So we're going to start off with what's important to her. All right, so let's talk about the things that are important to Bridget. And we're just gonna make a list. Visits from the kids. All right.
Coffee.
Y'all talking fast now, right? Is it specific kids or any kids? Okay, so children. And what age group again? What, about
Yeah, maybe
7 to 14? Okay, all right. And you said coffee? Okay.
Magazine.
Okay.
diaper tabs,
Diaper tabs,
doing what she wanna do.
So she likes to be in control.
Yes, she does.
All right.
I
Okay.
think she likes to eat. I think she likes
Yeah,
to.
she loves to eat
Is it specific, something specific?
chocolate, M&Ms.
Oh, M&Ms, yeah.
So candy, chocolate, okay.
She enjoys it outside.
Yeah.
Okay.
and
And she
tearing.
likes leaves.
So is it, you said leaves, like nature, she just
Yeah,
like.
she likes
tearing
twigs.
Which she
Pulling
crushes
leaves
them
off.
up
She
with.
likes to tear them,
Yeah.
like the magazines.
Okay, nature, twigs, leaves, okay. All right. What else is important to her?
Would you
Car
say,
rides.
would you say giving her a choice of what to do is important to her, instead of just saying, this is what we're going to do?
Yeah, choice is important.
I
Yeah.
think choice is important to her.
She'll let you know
Choice.
too, like if she doesn't wanna go in
That's part of
there.
being in control, her
Yeah.
doing what
Yeah.
she wants, yeah,
Choice,
because if you
yeah.
don't,
But I think if
she
you
gets
give her a
mad.
choice, I think it's important for her to be able to make that.
Yeah.
Okay. I added it. Okay. Somebody
Car
else was
rides.
fixing to say, oh, car ride, does it matter where or just riding?
She just likes to ride.
Visually stimulating things.
Yeah,
Give me a little bit more specific.
we like colorful things,
Okay.
she loves colorful. Like Target gets her attention a lot.
So
It's
bright
colorful
colors.
in there, yeah.
You mean like when you go by it, she'll look at the outside of the store?
If we go inside, her head is up, looking around,
Really?
versus going to Walmart.
Presents are important. She likes to open them.
Yeah, she likes to tear the paper.
So I'm gonna put that under, what's it, tearing.
Cause she don't care what's in it. She just want to tear the paper.
Okay.
What about visits from mom and dad? Visits from mom and dad.
We are backing off from that intentionally at
Okay.
87, so that when we die, it's not a big shock to her.
Okay.
But when they do come to the house, she acknowledges them with a big smile. She does. Okay. So does she like visitors in general, or particular visitors, or mom and dad visits?
What about y'all?
I think she likes everybody.
She enjoys like if,
She loves visitors.
I think if she enjoys, well, what do you guys think? You guys
I
are-
think she enjoys.
She enjoys
any big
visitors, but she, she'll, be happy to see you for a moment, then she's gonna go back to doing what she wanna do.
We had when Gwen was there, that was one of her workers that worked with her, and Bridget liked her, and she comes and
She
visits.
comes and
And Bridget is
visits.
so glad to see her.
Okay.
She remembers her.
She was just there the other week, wasn't she?
Right.
Yeah.
I thought I saw her car there, yeah.
I think it would be visits from people she knows. She doesn't have a ton of day for strangers.
I know, 'cause she wasn't that mean.
She looks them over out the corner of her eye.
All right. Anything else that's important to her? Is it important to her, as far as like, how services are provided to her, or a routine,
Her
or?
routine is
Yeah.
important to
She
her.
likes things that
Yeah, she doesn't like to be out of her routine.
Yeah,
Okay.
she'll let you know.
Okay.
She teach them how to, someone new come in, she teach them how to dress her after bathing,
Mhm.
what she want on first.
Okay. All right. And we can always come back to this as things come out. Is there anything else that's important to her, as far as outside of her home? Okay, so we got, she likes to get, it's important to her to have visits from kids or children, to have her coffee, to have her magazines or paper to tear, her diaper tabs, being in control, having choices, having candy and chocolate available, being in nature, being able to tear twigs and leaves,
riding in the car, being around colorful things, visits from a previous staff when or familiar people, and her routine is important to her. All right, so as we go on, something else might come and you might see me run back over here and put something over here. So, all right, at this point, we want to talk about what's important for her.
Being in good health.
Okay.
I didn't hear you, what did you say?
Being in good health.
Being in good health.
Okay. What else?
Having enough to eat. Keeping her hygiene up.
Can she do that on her own or she requires staff?
Staff.
Okay. So staff assistance with, I'm just gonna say personal care. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say like exercise and range of motion.
Okay.
Goes in there as well.
Okay.
I think it's important that she drinks a liter of water every day, but you all don't.
She gets plenty of water.
So
We give her as much as she'll take.
water, okay. Is it important for her to receive her medications?
Yeah.
And- Okay.
Weight control.
Okay. Keeping her weight. Are we keeping it low, basically?
Yes.
Okay.
She's weighed every Thursday.
All right.
I think it's important that she has functional communication.
Okay.
I think it's important that she has good relationships with people around her that she trusts. Have that
Okay.
security.
Is that important to her, to be able to trust people?
I think
Yeah.
it is.
I want to piggyback on that because it does take it to a different twist. I think it's important that she is socialized, so she does things that are socially acceptable and avoids those that are not.
Okay. I'm gonna say good supports for trust. Okay.
Do we have mobility up there? She can't make choices.
Okay.
She's not mobile.
She's got exercise and
So-
range of motion there.
All right.
Well, and fine motor control, so she can feed herself and take care of it that way. So it's beyond mobility. It's-
Okay. Does she need any type of special accommodations like ramps or
Her
is she
lift
only?
chairs.
Chairlifts, yeah.
Okay, and when she goes to stores or out, does she have? Is it important that
We have a transport wheelchair for her.
But I'm saying, when you go out to those stores, do you have to make sure it's a store that is accessible for the chair or?
Yeah,
Yes,
So she
yeah.
needs, okay.
because you have some stores that have narrow aisles. You can't get through.
Did you see she put off that tech talk as soon as Becky?
Yeah.
There, she's like,
Mhm.
Becky's gone, I don't want
Yeah,
Becky's out.
that's exactly what she was doing.
Also, something was said earlier that I think I missed putting up here. She needs her transport chair. You said it's important for her to have
Have
that.
that transport chair.
Spelling does not count up here. I get completely illiterate when I'm writing in front of people.
I'm gonna say it's important for bowel movements as well. I've noticed, like, if she didn't have a good bowel movement for a couple days, she's cranky.
She is.
She doesn't enjoy what's going on, and it leads to other health-related
We
things.
put that up
Okay.
there by health.
So proper digestive, bowel movement.
Can she let you know when she's having,
Bowel movement.
well, like constipation issues like before?
Yeah, she can let us know.
Okay. So as far as, I wanna add to, where we said communication skills, did I put that up here?
Functional communication.
Okay. I wanna also add to that a, aspect that we discussed on Tuesday. What I was impressed with is that the people that work with her know how she communicates, and they know she has her own language that she uses, and it is so fluid. But a stranger like me that comes in, I don't know that, and having a way to share her language with others is important for her. Even though she has these devices that are great, how can we take the language she's developed on her own and make sure people understand what that means when they encounter her, especially like new staff or a stranger like me comes in, and you know, I see things on the floor. I come in, I don't know that, I'm like, they ain't even cleaning up, you know. So someone comes in not knowing that this is, you know, a stimulation thing that she does. So I'm gonna add to the functional communication is, I'm gonna add just like her personal language method, something, which we can talk about later. Okay. Anything else that's important for her?
Well, I think that a good diet, but I don't know if that's up there.
Added to having enough to eat. Is she on a specific diet right now?
No, but it's just a well-balanced diet, not
Okay.
just eating just anything she wants to.
Okay. Anything else off the top of your head?
I think, I don't know the best way to word it, but access to, like, when she's had more contact with what she enjoys, she seems happier, like access to, I wanna say preferred items, like activities, people, like the actual amount of time, like she's had access, when she's had greater time with them, she just seems happier, she seems.
She's had access to preferred preferences.
Yeah, she's in a better mood.
Right, better
So
mood,
that would
yes.
be important to her? Okay. I'm gonna say access to preferred activities.
And for her to be in a safe environment.
Okay. Okay. All right. And as you see, like I come over here, write stuff, I put stuff right here. So this, I'll probably do this. That's why I wore flats instead of heels, so I could get back and forth.
Did we at any place in there, she really, really likes it when she gets in the jet tub.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
No, I haven't seen that. Is that she lets
She
up in
does,
there?
it's very relaxing to her to get in there.
She like playing the bubbles in there.
I'm gonna say bubble bath.
Well, it is a tub with jets in it.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing as a spa,
Jacuzzi like spa.
but it's in a tub.
Okay. All right. Okay. And you guys keep pondering over this, and as we say things, I'll add to it. We're gonna move on to who's important to me. These are the people that we want to, the people that make her excited, the people she's happy to see, and also people that's important for her. Well, people that she understands that these people are in my life because they make my life great. I have a great quality of life because of my relationships with these people. So we can just run down the line on who's important to her. And names, if we can possibly use names.
My kids and Bobby's grandkids. Need their names.
Oh, Bobby's grand.
'cause I got a lot.
And you're Alicia,
Uh-huh.
okay? I might spell your name wrong, I'm sorry if I do.
We know who we are.
Okay. Who else?
I would
These
say
are
all of her
caregivers.
team, yeah. all
Yes,
of her
kind of is very important to her.
Okay.
I used to be a caregiver and her nurse. She's her nurse now, so.
Okay, and Gwen? Okay. Who else?
And her big sister, she loves to see Jamie come with gifts.
All right.
Only when I come with gifts, yeah.
And Alex as well.
Yeah, she always see
I don't, sometimes she's not happy to see me at all.
That's how she is with all of
All of
us.
us.
Sometimes she is, sometimes she's not, but
I
we
thought-
know she loves us.
For a few weeks there, every time I come over, we'd always go to the doctor. So she associated me with getting poked and prodded. I was like, no.
Okay.
And her parents.
All right. All right.
What about Becky?
Your parents? What's your name?
Mallory.
Your Mal. Okay. Mallory.
Becky Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah,
gets
she likes to
excited
see Becky.
Yep, she gets excited.
Becky's the fun lady.
Oh,
Okay.
that time you got up, she got rid of this tip.
Sorry, I apologize.
No, you're fine. She was just like, Becky's not here. We're done with technology.
And she pushed the button a couple times.
Yeah, because she was trying to pick it up.
Okay. Anybody else?
I think family going to family events, when she see our families, or would that fall under the kids?
That probably would be what's important to me.
I think she likes being in a crowded area where she
Yeah.
has like a little bit of her distance. But even when we go to like the hospital or whatnot, I think she actually enjoys
Yeah.
being in the waiting room.
She likes looking around at people.
Yeah, people watching a little bit.
So you like being around action?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
That's
Can't
what
be
I'm
too
saying.
loud though, got to be, just right for her.
Yeah, I don't know if she'd do well at a carnival. I don't think
Yeah.
she'd
Okay.
enjoy that.
Now, I had taken her to a basketball game that was really loud and it didn't bother her.
Okay. Any other people that are important to her? Any relationships she's established out here? Any relationships she's established in the past year, going out and doing new experiences or gaining new natural supports? Any important people from those things?
I wouldn't say people per se. Haven't met anybody that she's meeting all the time
Mm-hmm.
that I know of.
I don't think, no one that she would think important to her.
That brings up a good point. So she hasn't created a long-term relationship outside of her team.
No.
I don't know if she would want to or not.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. I don't think she cares about that because if a stranger's around her too long talking to her, she's gonna focus her attention elsewhere. So I don't know if that's important to her.
Okay, well, we can always add to the list. Okay, so what we have for who's important to her is Bobby's grands, Alicia's kids, Connie, you're the nurse, right? I put that in the right spot, okay. Gwen is the ex-staff, her sister Jane, nephew Alex, parents, Mallory's parents. Mallory, are you important to her?
Of course.
Well, I think Alicia and Bobby are important to her.
Yeah.
She
We
understands.
And our caregivers,
Okay.
Mallory is very, I think, Bridget really took to Mallory.
Okay.
I get some of these filter pictures every now and then when they have these little flowers up there. Taking selfies with Bridget.
Snapchat. Okay. All right. So that's a good list of people. Most people are in a service sort of role in her life. But
So for the kids, it's
yeah.
so many different kids she around and doing things with them. It's
Yeah.
just awesome if we could film it when she really out with those kids and you can see how they pushing her in the yard and interacting with her.
yeah.
Yeah, she had fun yesterday with my kids. They were playing a game and they rolled the ball to each other and once whoever get the ball, they had to do a dance. So they did it for so long, Bridget started moving like she was dancing.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, Bridget, she was doing it for so long, she had the biggest smile on her face. I'm like, oh my God, she was like going for a long time just doing that and smiling.
But they doing that, the crazy dance my child be doing. I'm like, this looks just crazy, but. So before I go to the barriers, let's go to the barriers. Let's talk about the barriers. What are some barriers that that pose difficulties for Bridget to do some of the things that are meaningful to her?
Her not being able to walk on her own.
Okay. Limited mobility.
I think communication as well. Sometimes she gets frustrated. You know, she's trying to say something, but you know, I don't know all of her language like you guys do.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's really a major barrier. When she can't get through to you, she loses it. She really gets mad.
Yes. Okay.
And she's like, hey, don't you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah. Cause then she started hitting at you if you don't go right ahead or pinch you. Like, you gotta understand what I'm talking about.
Well, that's like her going from a normal tone to a,
Yeah.
hey.
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, one of the barriers is the level of intellectual development.
Cognitive ability.
Well, I think that kind of ties into her communication. And again, like I said in the beginning, when we talk about the barriers, we don't want to take what an assessment says and let that dictate, you know, what her experiences can be. She may have to experience things differently, but she still may be able to experience them in a way that's meaningful to her. And I really try not to put a person's level of ID in that, just because once you put that up there, everybody kind of thinks, well, she's not going to be able to do that because she has a profound diagnosis or a severe diagnosis. And it's almost like it takes precedence over everything else. We understand that's a barrier and it's included in her assessments, and we do know that causes some of her limitations. But when we talk about the goal aspect, we want to make sure we talk about it from what Bridget can do and how she's kind of overcome that. Sounds like to me, you know, an assessment says she should have never been where she is now, and she still beat that odd. So I really hate to put that up there. I mean, if you want it up there, I will.
Well,
but
she is diagnosed at about a 15-month-old, I guess. Don't even, probably 15 months, a year and a half. But I think she's reached more like 2.5 age. But by just experiencing life, that's added, some experiences added to that. So I think she's a little beyond that reasoning.
Well, and I think too, just based on what's important to her, and the developing the relationship with who's important to her, she understands that certain experiences happen around certain people, and she also understands that I do have some choices. Like, if you don't do these things, you're gonna get a different Bridget.
The caregivers, we would put her up there higher than Ema too, yo.
Yes.
The way she interact with us.
You know, yeah, and that's
We're
why
not a
I
doctor, but with us, she's she really do, you know, interact.
And that is a barrier for people who encounter her. But I think, just like I said, being around her for like an hour on Tuesday, it was clear that she knew what she wanted, she knew how to get it, and she knew who to go to get it. If I can't get it, I know you're supposed to get it, so go get it for me.
He was in her house and she run that house.
Yes.
Would a barrier be her not being able to do or being forced to do something she don't want to do? Would that be a barrier?
Say it again.
will it be a barrier to her doing something, she's being forced to do something she don't want to do? You know, she acts out because you're making her do something that you feel is important for her?
Well, that
Would that
might
be a
be
barrier for
important to her. Does she have like tantruming type of behaviors or?
Yeah.
So yes, those are very, so what are they? Tell me what they look like or.
Like exercising, that's something she don't want to do.
You mean when
Oh,
she
yeah,
acts
like-
out?
Yeah,
She-
what's the
so
barrier?
She'll bite herself?
Yeah,
Okay.
she bites herself when
Okay.
she does, or screams,
Okay.
Or she'll pinch you?
yeah.
Yeah, she can do that.
Others. Okay.
She hits her head,
Yeah,
Okay.
bang her head.
Yeah.
or she'll like throw her food, and she'll hurt herself.
Yeah.
Oh, my
She
goodness.
has really bad tantrums if she is forced to do something, or even if, it's just, if she can't communicate with us.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Or she's
No,
in
I
pain.
think she's in pain.
Yeah, she's
That's
in
what I
pain and
think.
she can't
Exactly.
express that.
Mhm.
So, her not being, which is on limited communication, she can't
Yeah.
express herself, so. But those
Okay.
are some of the things she does when she's being forced or you don't understand her.
I would say a barrier just from like almost holistic is, I think that other people's perception of her, is a barrier to her getting relationships,
You think so?
I think when someone, yeah,
Because I try to keep her around kids, so they don't really worry about that. And I know as far as my family, they've always treated her like she's a kid, and she just always, she just loved that. People treat her like a baby.
I always noticed she didn't care what nobody
Yeah.
else thought about her.
That's what
Yeah.
it seems like.
If they
'Cause
want
she's
in,
gonna
they
do-
fine. If they don't,
But she don't care about the adults anyway, and how they feel.
But I think in general, that people who don't know her
Right.
avoid
But does she
her.
even notice it though?
But no, but that would
There would be a
limit the
barrier?
interactions.
It would be like a community stigma.
Yes.
The mindset of the community is still. And that's, with people with ID, it's just hard.
I would
to get
even
people
say there's
to
some
see
physical
it.
limitation, like it's hard for her to hold her head up the whole time.
Yeah.
And I think that can take away from some good interactions that she'd have.
Okay.
Um,
Is it more difficulty, you think she just gets tired and lets it down, or a lack of interest?
I don't know that Bridget's ever had really good eye contact, has she?
not really.
Okay.
Has she ever?
I think it depends on
If she wants
Eye
something.
contact.
Yeah.
Has she ever exhibited really good eye contact?
She was younger.
When she was
Yeah.
younger?
Younger she
I've
did.
noticed in the past years that the eye contact is very limited, that I have to make her look at me when
Yeah.
we're working together, look at me.
In the
for a
past,
minute.
she did have eye contact.
Do you think that's more of
And,
her
Of course, she
back?
was physically much more active in the past. She used to be able to run with her crutches.
Mhm.
I mean, you look at her now, it's hard to believe
When
that.
she was doing that in
Yesterday-
'05, she was
Yesterday, for the first
She would go up and
time,
down
she ran
stairs
with her
with her
crutches,
crutches.
actually, yesterday.
Wait, what?
The kids, I got the kids, and she didn't get a chance to play with them once we got to the house, so she had to sit down and eat her food once we got there. But when she got up to go upstairs, she was walking really fast, picking her legs up.
Really?
Yeah, and she wouldn't even sit on the toilet. She was so excited trying to get back downstairs, so she was walking so fast. I hadn't seen her walk like that since I first started working with her. And she was moving, she was going. So she had motivation to move, but it's not always like that, when she see them. But she haven't seen both the kids together in a long time to come here and play with her. But she
Let me ask
she
you
was
this.
moving.
Does has she had a significant progression in her CP?
Yeah,
As that-
hands especially.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. Her hands is a barrier too.
And
I
her
think you're right,
feet.
the positioning and that's affected the eye contact and then that's affected the interaction piece.
Yeah.
When she's in the chair, at least.
Well, and that's the thing that when she was in physical therapy, the therapist brought up the fact that she needs something to keep her head up. So they bought the thing to put on her chair for her neck, but she takes that and throw it.
Yeah, she leans
Actually,
back in her chair sometimes. and
Yeah, she
enjoys
leans back
that.
in her chair. Oh, like, but she still keep her head.
Yeah.
where- Yeah. She's gonna sit herself up or change positions.
actually, we've got one thing up there that's not quite right. When we say progression of CP, it does not get worse. CP is what it is. The damage is there. But I think what it is because of that, what we're seeing is more like arthritis.
Okay.
Well, the muscles have,
Atrophy.
Yeah.
how can you say, because of how she has to walk, it's been harder on her body. The CP hasn't changed.
Well, I thought, now y'all correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought cerebral palsy is a slow deterioration
No,
of
No.
muscle.
Cerebral
no,
palsy
that's
is
muscular
diagnosis.
dystrophy.
And you've got the level of cerebral palsy that affected you
She-
at birth, that's the
That
birth
was at
defect,
birth.
that was at birth.
That
What
hasn't
happens
changed.
is our adults get older, their muscles atrophy because they're not moving as much
Okay.
and being
Yeah.
about.
And
so
they're
they
used
just
to-
get weak.
yeah,
It's like when
differently
you break your
walking
leg or
with-
arm, you
yeah.
get the cast off, you see that muscle is atrophied.
Yeah.
So for Bridget, that's what's happening.
Alright, I'm just gonna say arthritis.
And as
I think so.
they get weaker, they also start to tighten and withdraw.
Yeah.
And that's what you typically see in folks with CP.
Okay.
Just
Alright,
because they're not using them.
alright.
Willingness, like the willingness to actually, or maybe stubbornness, not to do like activities that would benefit her. Like where they
Okay.
said she doesn't want to do the new step. Now she's not liking the pool so much. If she's not willing to do it, it doesn't maintain, which creates a barrier.
Yeah.
Very true.
Yeah, that's what I was getting at.
I think she gets bored with it after a while. She thinks it's boring. She doesn't want to do it.
I think that's what happened in the pool, because she really enjoyed it that first
Yeah,
day.
and I was wondering if it was because she's getting cold when she gets out, because when she get out, the pool is very warm. And it's warm in the room too, but she's shivering cold. So I started taking her robe. I put it on her, but she starts screaming before I can put it on her once we get out. She's already mad because I've been making her do something she don't want to do. So it's hard for me to understand why she's behaving that way.
You know, I just wonder, I know this is not barrier, but I just wonder if you went to an outdoor pool with a lot of kids.
Well, they have
Maybe it's
kids
more
coming
summer.
in now. It's summertime, so they have kids in now. But, you know, she just have her mind made up that that's not what she wanted to do. She, you know, she's a little stubborn.
Or maybe a playground.
And see, I take her to the Ross Bridge Park, that's one place that we go.
Well,
a lot.
let's just move right on over to the goal.
Sorry.
I'm
I was
gonna
just
borrow
wondering.
a different color pen, to kind of help. So we see that there are barriers. So now we go into the part where we talk about goals. And when we get into the part where we talk about goals, what we try to do is look at what's consistent. What's consistent amongst all of these things. So one thing that I heard us talk about basically throughout the entire meeting is her love for kids, being around kids. If there are kids around, you can just about get her to run up 60 flights of stairs.
I would
if they're
like to
up
see
there.
that running on the crutches.
Yeah, I've never seen her do that before. She was so excited.
So it sounds like that's a priority to her. It also sounds like her having choices or being in control, because when she is being required to do something, I hate to use the word made, so I'm gonna say if she's being required to do something, you get all this.
Yes.
You know, and she's telling you, I don't wanna do this. And you making me do this. So now that you're making me do this, I'm fixing to show you how I feel about it. So it sounds like being in control, having some choices is a priority to her. It also sounds like her being more social. It may not necessarily be important to her, but it ties into this. Because if you go back and look at some things, well, all that we've discussed throughout this meeting, it basically ties into her social interactions. She can't increase natural supports if she's doing a variety of activities. She can increase natural supports if she's consistently choosing from a set number of activities. So it's hard to build meaningful relationships and have these friendships and these surrogate sort of relationships if she's going to the mall this week, to the park next week, to the swimming pool the next week, and then we start over the next month going somewhere different. It would be great if we could do some consistent things with her, to incorporate some of the preferred activities. It also, I mean, I've sit here and watched her tear up
Diaper tabs.
her tabs off of her protective underwear. So it sounds like self-stimulating sort of things are important to her. Being around, that was what we talked about on Tuesday as well. It seems like anything that is constantly changing, anywhere where there's a lot of movement, not necessarily noise, but a lot of movement, a lot of excitement, changing settings is important to her. We talked about the ceiling fan. She likes to watch the ceiling fan twirl. And it could be just because that is just, it's changing. And she's trying to figure out, how is it doing that? It reminds me of how little, when you have a little baby, how if you wear colorful earrings or if your hair is a different color, they're always attracted to the person with the weird color hair or the sparkly earrings or whatever. So that sounds like it's important to her as well. And I'm gonna add that to the list. I think I put it on here. Being around action and movement sounds like it's important to her. And it also, I said colorful things.
Communication.
And communication, yes, thank you. That is very important to her.
Yes.
When she can't tell you what she wants, these things happen.
Yeah.
All of it. So when we start talking about goals, we want to talk about, when we start talking about goals, we want to take into account the things that are important to her, the things that are important for her, and the barriers. So when we look at the barriers, the thing we want to eliminate first, of course, is the things that she do to cause harm to herself or could possibly cause harm to others. So if these things are directly tied to these things, how do we help Bridget have some control and some say about what's going on around her? How do we help her have a little bit more exposure to movement and action? How do we incorporate into her life more being around children? So maybe she'll be motivated to do some of these things. That's important for her, like the exercises and things like that. So when we talk about goals, based on that information, what would you guys as a team say is an important goal for her?
Keep moving, keep being mobile.
And giving her more choices.
Yeah.
All right. So basically, I'll have to word it in a different way. So are we saying that a goal for Bridget, based on what's important to her, is having some say in her life, relying less on staff?
Yes.
Okay.
I think she likes that autonomy.
Okay.
And I think one thing is that probably needs to be addressed, the fact, like her barriers, her biting and screaming when she's being required to do something that she don't want to do. Maybe she just can't do it.
Okay.
That's why she's acting out that way. So I think like the choices will be, a good thing for her too, to decide, hey, well, I don't want to do this today.
Right.
And let her do something that she is important to her.
Mm-hmm.
Going
So
to
one
a
of the
party
first
and
steps associated with that may be, instead of having a planned calendar monthly, or I don't know how you guys structure activities, but instead of having a set number of activities, okay, if she refuses to do this, offer something else. Instead of saying she has to go to the pool on Thursdays at 2:00. If she doesn't want to go to the pool on Thursday, what's the other option that will still give her the stimulation, that will still give her some exercise, that will still help her be able to have some mobility and some access to some things that doesn't necessarily equate to her having to get in the water.
So that would still come under her making her decision.
Right.
Did we do something like that maybe the year before I got here, where it was pictures of Walmart and Target?
And the challenge was she didn't associate a picture with the real thing. So that's where we backed off, because because we've been trying to build the picture vocabulary for years now. And we realized that we needed to have her understand that a picture was representative of an actual item. So we started with, what does she love? She loves coffee. So we had pictures of the coffee mug she uses with just random things. And in order to get her coffee, she had to choose the picture that represented the real item. And she was able to do that. We got up to 3 choices, and then it switched, the planning completely switched last year.
Yeah.
So, you know, and we started even with books. Bobby, you took pictures of different people she likes, different foods, activities and places, and I bought board books. I made them into board books. Again, the problem was she was entertained by the books, but she didn't realize those were actual representations of the real thing.
Yeah, and I think what we have to do, it ties back into looking at what her language is and really trying to utilize her language more when it comes to developing her goals. But you can always use those additional things as supports. You know, she drinks coffee, tie that communication board into, you know, okay, we're gonna get a cup of coffee now. Coffee,
Yeah,
you know.
we do that.
Yeah,
we do
using
that.
it to support her, to tie it together, but not making it a requirement. And also using the things that she enjoys as a reward, sometimes will shift that enjoyment. Say, I don't even want it no more if I gotta do this to get it. You see, so really trying to go beyond that, using the things her preferred activities as a reward, and basically using those preferred activities as a part of her everyday life. And then making her language that she uses, making other people understand how she communicates versus making her communicate with other people the way that's comfortable to them. If I'm going to work with her, I need to learn how she communicates instead of trying to make her communicate how I communicate. So, one thing I will say too that I've heard throughout is coffee. And I think her having coffee and being able to have access to it, and Alex and Bobby and Alicia and I talked about this, and I wanted to present it to the team. Do you guys feel like it would be meaningful to Bridget to learn to make her own coffee? Instant coffee in the microwave. They got coffee little squirt things. You heat up the water and you squirt the mix in there. Shake it up and she has
I
coffee.
think she'll like it.
I've already checked on that. Keurig makes a one coffee thing. It's available in Walmart. Providing that the thing is safe, I don't see any reason why she might not be able to make her own cup of coffee. And certainly in steps.
Yeah.
Or buy the instant pack. You can buy a little instant pack in a little plastic tube, and you just pour it into hot water, and you got your coffee. And that'd be something that'd be easier than using a Keurig, because the Keurig would have to be somewhere plugged up, and she'll have to go to that. And you know, walking ain't something that she won't do too much of, so.
I think the instant coffee would be better for her.
It doesn't taste as good.
Doesn't taste very
I don't think
She
she cares.
cares.
To me,
Well,
it tastes the same.
Yeah, I don't think
I've
Bridget
had
cares
some that
though.
taste the same.
I think
Well, it would be
coffee
her
is coffee.
choice.
Yeah,
Well,
coffee
what
is
you
coffee.
could do is you could do instant coffee versus a 1 cup coffee maker. Keurig kind of expensive. I can't afford it. I got a knockoff Keurig. But you can get the little, I have a coffee mate one, and it's literally like it costs like maybe $20 at Ollie's, and I just pour the water in there and you hit one button and you put the little K-cup in there and you hit one button and it makes 1 cup of coffee. Yes. And it's inexpensive, and if it gets broken or something like that, you didn't spend a lot of money on it. And you can use styrofoam cups, you can use regular coffee cups, whatever, and it makes a big cup down to a small cup. It just depends on how much water you pour in there.
How do we test what coffee she'd like?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. You could do instant coffee one day or in the morning, and if she gets another cup in the afternoon, do the Keurig or the 1 cup coffee maker. You can do flavored coffee versus regular coffee. You can do decaf versus caffeinated. I mean, it's all kinds of ways you can incorporate coffee.
She does Folgers.
Folgers only.
Got plenty of
I know, we just picked up a whole barrel of drum
Said
of
we
it.
got plenty of coffee at the house. She
Yeah,
don't
that
do
coffee is coffee
Folgers.
for her.
And even with the 1 cup coffee maker, you can put, it has the little filter thing in there, and you can actually scoop it into the filter and still make the
Yeah.
coffee with the regular, you don't have to use the K
And I'm
cups.
pretty sure she's very capable of doing that.
Okay?
I think she'd enjoy it too.
Yeah, she will.
Okay. All right, what else? We talked about her having choices, and when we get into the first steps, we'll go into a little bit more detail about it. We talked about her making her own coffee. What about her being able to be around kids? Oh, you know what? Making my own coffee. Can I put under here? Is the team okay with me putting on here? Setting her schedule monthly,
If she
choosing her
does-
schedule monthly or weekly
Well,
or
in a way,
however
you
y'all do.
can't, because like Tuesday's the only day that she can come to.
Right.
To Becky.
So we're limited on that, and those other people, there's just so much time that they are willing to take Bridget.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to stick with that.
Well, now, what people? The places
The
she
pool
goes.
people.
Sure.
Okay. Now,
They
what
have
is
their
she
own
do?
Monday,
schedule, and you
Tuesdays,
have to
and
accept
Wednesdays,
that.
those have to stay the same.
Well, I think since we're in the summertime, I think her schedule can be rerouted a little bit now, since it's summertime and they're open later, they have kids there all day. Instead of going at 10:30, we can go at maybe 2:30.
So I think there's
Just
two different
reroute it a
things.
little.
Maybe, are we talking about changing the whole schedule, or are we
No.
talking
Well-
about changing the activities that are put into the schedule? Like still keeping the concrete, this is when you eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Well, yes,
I think
I
rerouting
think we ought to
it.
keep our meals the same.
Oh no, I'm not talking about changing her routine at
Yeah.
home. What I'm saying is like her outing, her community outings, her activities that she's doing monthly. Is it that she has to go to the Lakeshore place, or is it just that agreement was made and they expect her to come?
The Lakeshore is expensive.
Okay,
However, she has a scholarship,
okay,
but if she doesn't go 4 times a month, she loses her scholarship.
okay, okay. How many times a month does she go now?
We
She
go
goes
twice a week.
Okay, so
Yeah.
okay, so she goes twice a week, which equates to 8 times a month. So can she go 5 times and then do something else them other
Well,
3
the
days?
thing is, that is so important for her movement. I don't want to give that up.
Well,
Well,
see,
my point is, instead of going in the morning, we can change it to the afternoon. And in the morning, there can be a time we can go to a library where kids are playing.
But
At the
you're
library
saying,
this summer. Instead
What
of
if she
just-
doesn't want to go to the lake?
Yeah, but if she
well, my
don't-
thing is, if it's resulting in this, how important is it to her to go to
Because she's not
the,
doing anything if we get let out
if
of
you
her.
fighting her the whole time she's there, or
Yeah.
having to, you know, to
Because one-
fight with
one
her
problem-
to participate is not gonna benefit her anyway.
One problem with her is that if she repetitively does something, she knows what she's about to do, so she get an attitude before she get there. So maybe if she do something fun earlier that day before she go, maybe that'll have her in a better mood and she'll participate more.
I'm still hung up on her running
Yeah, she was walking
on the
so
crutches,
fast.
being around those kids.
Yep, she picked her legs up, and her legs her feet had been dragging all day.
It's really important.
Yeah, I mean, kids are made, it seems like they're very important, being around them, and it may be that she identifies with them, you know?
Yeah, I think
She
she
doesn't feel
does.
different around, you know, children, so that could be part of it, but she can't tell us for us to make that assessment. But it's something about being around children motivates her to do other things. But I do wanna make sure that if her having these financial obligations to these places and things like that, that could be a barrier to this goal of her having some say in her choice and making choices. Because if she's financially obligated to something, then it is gonna limit her being able to accomplish a certain goal. So I do wanna make sure I understand her schedule and how the schedule is put together. So I don't, you know, so we don't as a team leave here and do something that's going to cause a long-term effect of her not being able to maintain some of these community relationships that you guys have so magnificently built for her.
Or could we not just say making choices in terms of, because she has blocks of the day where she has her leisure time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Does
just thinking
she-
rerouting, that's all.
Cause
But
it's
still do the things that she's doing, just don't do it at the same time of day that we always do.
But we're talking about her having the decision there.
Yeah.
To switch it, whatever.
But that's what I'm saying, like, if she don't go at the same time, if she go and do something fun, if that's her choice in the morning, to do something that she would prefer to do, as opposed to getting in the pool, which she don't wanna
Yeah,
do
but would
anymore,
she just
she goes
prefer to-
later on.
She might just prefer to sit in that chair all day.
That's where
We
she
don't
goes.
want
Well,
that.
Yeah, she does prefer to do that.
Yeah, but
That's
we
what she
don't want
prefers,
that.
but.
She needs to be moving around. That's not good to be sitting in that
Well, let me
chair all
ask you
day.
this, if moving around a lot is causing her discomfort and pain, is it really affecting her quality of life? Because we do have to take into account that she has arthritis. We've said that she has some arthritis issues. She has some atrophy issues. Her mobility is limited, so a lot of her walking and moving staff is basically providing that physical support to her. So even though it's important to you guys as a team that she does these things, we have to make sure we take into account, are we forcing her to do something that's causing her discomfort, which again results in these things. Cause I mean, Bridget's what, 53? Probably when I get 53, you're not gonna make me walk every day. You're not gonna make me get in them. You know what I'm saying? You're not gonna make me go exercise. It's just probably not gonna happen. And we have to take into account her age and again her physical needs have changed. And we wanna make sure that what we're doing, even though we wanna help her, we wanna make sure it's not causing her additional discomfort and pain, or we're pushing her to do too much, which is causing her to refuse and do some of these things.
It reminds me, when we were teaching her, when she first started getting physical therapy, when she was a year old, 3, 4 years old, she had the most wonderful physical therapist. She went to UCP Clinic in New York.
Mm-hmm.
And she screamed and yelled and rebelled, but that physical therapist was so determined she was going to obey her. And she finally got Bridget so she could hold her head up. When she first went, she couldn't even hold her head up.
Mm-hmm.
She taught her to crawl. She taught her to pull herself up. She taught her to walk with crutches. And then in between, Bridget was throwing fits the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
And she was always stubborn.
Mm-hmm.
But that physical therapist said, no, you're going to do what I say. And that's how she managed to get along. Most people, as handicapped as she was, would still be lying in bed.
Mm-hmm. And I agree that there needs to be some strong encouragement, but does it have to be 8 times a month or 3 times a week? That's my thing. Is it that necessary for it to be that frequent, that often? And I don't, like I said, I don't work with Bridget, so I don't know her personally. I don't have that experience. So that's why as a team, I'm asking these questions, because again, if this is happening when she's at these various events, various activities, staff is not going to be able to do their best job. They're going to be exhausted trying to get her to cooperate. Could cause injury to herself or staff if she's wet and she's screaming and she's doing these things, and falls could happen. I think about if she has to go 4 times a month, if 4 times a month is what's necessary to keep her scholarship, then those other 4 times a month, could they be optional versus required?
What would we do? So we give her a choice?
Take her there, and if she starts screaming, I don't want to do it.
Well, you'll do that sometimes where, especially.
Well, yeah, sometimes she'll get really bad when she's like, I'm not gonna do it. So I really don't have any other choice but to take her out of that setting.
Yeah.
Well, I'll say this, the weekends, I come on Thursday nights.
Mm-hmm.
I spend the whole entire weekend just Bridget and I.
Mm-hmm.
she runs the weekend shift herself. She makes her decision what she gonna do and when.
Mhm.
I never tried, I would ask her, I always talk to her, I said, you wanna take a ride? If she said, we don't ride.
Mhm.
What you wanna do? That's what I give her.
Right.
But I tell her, eventually we going out in the community, and then next time I said, we gonna ride.
Is there flexibility in her weekly schedule to rearrange times and?
Probably the weekends there's lots of flexibility, but during the week is when we have to meet other people's, UCP doesn't have people on the weekend.
Right, so if she comes to speech on Tuesdays and that's at a set time, so that has to stay
That
the
has to
same.
stay.
What about some of the other things what are some of the other things she's doing?
She does a community outing in the afternoon, and she'll work out in the mornings, Mondays and Wednesdays at Lake Shore. She goes to the pool or uses the equipment there. And then every day there's a scheduled community outing where she goes to Target or just a car
Yeah.
ride or.
But is it set or
No,
is it just?
community outings not set time.
The
Okay.
destinations aren't set, but there's time
I
in
mean,
the
that's
schedule.
on our daily notes, a set time for community hours,
Yeah.
but like I said, it's me. Bridget determines when she with me when we going. Sometimes when she gets up, I say I'm bringing her out the toilet, she turns, go straight to that door, she wanna go out.
Yeah.
We don't.
Is it expected that if it says 2:00, that she's out at 2:00?
It's
No.
not driven home. I mean, it's her life. We want her to be able to say,
Yeah.
if
Okay.
she wants to leave a half hour later, that's expected.
Okay.
And sometimes the weather, she can't go out anyway if there's
Yeah,
a
sometimes
rainstorm,
I just do it for a ride if it's raining. I'll get her out.
and she loves to ride.
But I think that it is important, I think it's important, her health is important to her in a roundabout way. I don't think it's at the forefront of her mind, but I think it enables her to do other things.
Well, she likes her independence. She likes that. So I can tell, you know.
You know, she didn't have that at Park though, and when she first came to live in her own house, she didn't, she just went along with what we said, didn't she? And she started realizing she could make her own choices.
So we'll come back to this one. So having to stay in her choices. What about, what is she doing now, like routinely that aside from the children coming to visit her at home, what are some of the things that you guys do with her that she's around other children? I mean,
Like
around
on the
children.
weekends, I take her to Ross Bridge Park, and there's a big, people live out there. It's
Mhm.
a big subdivision, so there's kids that come to the middle ground and play soccer and bring all that kind of stuff. So most of the time I just, do her around for my own exercise, and then we'll stop. But she loves watching the kids and all the activities and stuff they do, so that's one way that I get her around.
Is she walking any during that time? Okay.
She just mostly has her diaper tabs, or sometimes I bring, her magazines or something.
And you use her
Just up to
transport chair?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, and also I look into things that we could do that wouldn't cost money. So I see that during the morning times, during school time and summertime, they have different events at the library for kids,
Yeah.
toddlers, and we've gone there a few times, and she really enjoyed that.
Okay.
But we can't always go because of the schedule.
Yeah.
So whenever I see that they're having something and we don't have anything to do that morning, we'll go to that. But they have a lot of things going on throughout the day, we just can't make it.
Let me ask you this, when those things are going on, is there a time later in the day she can go to Lakeshore?
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say.
Oh,
We can
okay.
go later on in the day.
Can
to
you
Lakeshore.
change it and just arbitrarily and say, I'm not coming in the morning, I'm coming this afternoon? We'll
No,
be-
we don't have, we go when we want.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like an open YMCA.
Oh, okay.
Because they're open until 8 o'clock.
Oh, okay, I didn't know that.
So that's what I was trying to say, just reroute her schedule
Okay.
and go to do an activity in the morning instead of Lakeshore in the morning, and maybe just do the reverse psychology on her and see how she behaves then.
She'll reverse it back to
Eventually she will, but as long as she can get her
Once
to
she's
behave.
in a routine, she knows that.
Yeah, she
routine.
knows, because when she come here, like when she came here for classes, she screamed when we turned down the road.
Cause she thought y'all was coming here for.
Well, she know what day she's doing what.
Yeah.
She understands.
Okay, so first step would be to restructure her schedule to accommodate additional activities. All right, we had another first step. We needed to get a coffee maker, a 1 cup, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and what did we say about the choices? Did we say, what did we say about that earlier? We were talking about choices and, presenting her with options for other activities.
That we used pictures before, were we talking about that?
Mm-hmm. But I was saying, I think a communication binder.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So other people who don't know her could learn her language.
Yeah. I'll just say Bridget specific. All right. What are some other goals we can determine based on what's important to her and what's important for her? She has some social interactions, but do you think it's important for her to have community relationships, be it at different areas or with different people or in different settings? It doesn't have to be specific to a person, but it could be just a certain setting.
Maybe we'll have to try it to see.
So it's a team conversation, so please give me your feedback.
So are you saying it's important for her to consistently go to Lakeshore? Is that what you're?
Well, just consistently go. I heard you guys say something earlier about building natural supports. And the key to building natural supports is basically repetitive encounters with people, basically in the same place, maybe not at the same time, but you routinely going to this place and you're seeing these people. Like, I shop at the Dollar General up from my house, so now the manager knows me, and you know, those kind of things. I go to the same one all the time, or the Piggly Wiggly around the corner. You know, those things, I'm constantly doing that. It's not the same time of the week, but I do it so much they know me now. You know, so that's what I'm saying. Is she consistently doing those things, going to like Lakeshore? I know she's consistently going there, but maybe some of the other places she's going, like the library, is she consistently going, and now the library manager or the librarian knows, oh, that's, you know, Bridget, she comes in a couple times a month or something like that.
That's a lot of stores, people that works there know Bridget, they know Bridget's name and not mine.
Okay, yeah, so she's consistently going to those stores. Okay, so she's building some community relationship. Say if there's a barrier as far as the financial obligation that's required, if finances are a barrier to keep her from doing some things, we do need to put that there because it directly affects her. Also, if there's a barrier that, you know, limits the amount of staff that she can have, or if she needs additional supports and don't have them to be able to do those things. Now, I can speak from the department standpoint where it's not about how much she's doing, but more about whether or not she's doing the things that are important to her. So if she's going all the time, but she don't care about the places she's going, it's really like she's not going. But if she's going to one place all the time and that place means the world to her, then that place, that would be expected that she would do the things that are important to her, not necessarily just a whole bunch of things. Do know when it comes to the support plan aspect, when we talk about goals and barriers and things that are directly tied to the support plan, we only look at what's meaningful to her and whether or not those things are being provided, or if there are barriers, how are we dealing with those barriers connected to that.
I'm just trying to read where the red marks are important to me.
I put visits from kids, communicating clearly with others, being in control, having choices, colorful things, bright colors, being around action and movement. And the other one I added was social interaction, because it pretty much ties into all of this.
Yeah.
Having those social relationships.
So what about another goal for being around the people that make her smile the most, the kids?
Okay.
Is there a goal there?
We haven't even addressed that. So her goal is to be around children. So what would be the first steps to having her do that more routinely? Including that into her schedule, like those library experiences or those park experiences that seem to make her happy.
Identifying where they gather, where those groups
Okay.
are.
Maybe we can have a plan set up, because they do have a monthly schedule at libraries and other different places in the summertime too. And maybe we can see what's going on for the month and then, fit it into her schedule some way.
Do like a monthly
Yeah.
community outing kind of
Yeah.
options. And then, so are we always giving her the option that day? You say, hey, do you want to go to the library? Do you want to go to Lakeshore?
She always gets
She
the option with
basically-
me where she wanna go anyway.
Yeah, she
I
basically
pull
tells
into a
you,
place, if that ain't she,
knowing her
That mean
language,
not
she
her
tells
Bite her
you
arm if she doesn't
what
want
she
to.
wants to do
Or Walmart
anyway.
or.
Because if I take her into the Lakeshore and she starts biting her arm when she get in the bathroom, I don't know if it's because we got to get undressed, and in the pool, they get dressed again. Maybe that's what's the barrier there with Lakeshore. But she just don't want to do that stuff. So she basically tells us what she want to do with her actions.
How long has she been doing that so far?
She's been doing it for a month, over a month now. But I think the first 2 weeks, she loved it. And after that, she just.
I think she's bored with it now.
Yeah, but I'm thinking we do the reverse psychology on it, maybe it'll change it up.
I'm
On
thinking we
as far
get
as
some
the
kids in
schedule.
the pool.
Well, see, that's the thing, this summer, they are having kids in the pool.
Were the kids there the last time she went?
Yeah.
Did she do better with the participating?
She always try to make her way to the exit.
Okay.
if those kids
So-
not interested in Bridget,
Yeah.
then she's not interested in me.
Because they're too busy playing. And then at the same time, while we're in the pool, they're doing a yoga class. So there's a lot going on in that pool that all she can do is get on the wall and walk around.
So it might be that it's overcrowded and there's too many people. Maybe that goes back to what something happened in the pool where there's too many people and she got drugged
Yeah,
down
because
or
there's a lot
something.
of people in the pool, and if she don't want to do it, like one day she wouldn't put her legs on the floor at all, so I basically carried her. So I set her on the stool, but it was so many other people there too, talking. And she don't like people in her face, and they talk to me, but she'll start fixing herself like she's gonna fall in the pool, like she's gonna drown. So she starts screaming, but I know she's doing it on purpose.
Get out of there.
Yeah.
And I think dealing with the barrier with finding places for children, summertime is much easier because kids are out of school.
Mhm.
But it's not preschoolers that she likes.
Mhm.
It's the school-age kids.
Yeah.
So that's a
yeah,
barrier,
school-age
is
too.
access to school-age children during the school year.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very true. Has she had a Coke today?
No. She had crackers. You want to get Coke?
Yeah, she.
That's something important to her. It's not on the list.
Yeah, Coke.
Oh, Coke.
Yeah.
Let me add that. Coca-Cola. She like a strong drink.
It has to be a diet.
Ooh, so it's Diet Coke.
Uh-huh, she loves Diet Coke or Coke Zero.
Oh, I can't drink them Cokes.
She don't drink the strong stuff.
Well, one thing I do know, I was telling them on Tuesday, that some of the schools and also some of the, well, I don't know about the daycare because I don't have a child in daycare age, but some of the schools during the school year, they have these volunteer opportunities like during testing where they have people that's just kind of there to greet the kids when they get off the bus or when they get dropped off to kind of rally them for testing. They also do, I know at McAdory Elementary, the PTA is always asking for people to come in and volunteer because they, and I know there's a barrier to this with Bridget, because she puts her hand in her mouth and stuff, but they ask people to volunteer in the cafeteria to, like, the PTA sells like snacks and stuff in the cafeteria, to take money or pass out snacks or napkins or whatever to the kids when they come through and get additional snacks on their lunch account. So that might be something that's worth looking into, not necessarily to do it all the time, but maybe periodically to, she'll be around kids. I'm sure they'll be happy, you know, to see her there, and kids love, to fuss over, over people that are there at the school. So that might be something that's worth looking into when the school year starts.
And I know as a public educator, they would have to be cleared at the county level.
Okay.
And I don't know if they would clear Bridget, because I mean, this is where her intellectual ability is coming into play. I know my husband volunteers as a mentor, and he had to go through an extensive training and then sign off on the legal stuff, and well, she can't.
Well, with what I'm talking about, it's more like one of those, just we want people to come in for an hour, and then you
It would
can
be worth exploring.
Yeah.
Another thing that popped in my mind as you were talking, and this is coming from a different state, and vocational rehabilitation in the state of Georgia is very progressive as far as doing job coaching and providing that type of opportunity.
Mhm.
But I don't know where Alabama is with that type of stuff.
It's off Lakeshore. It's over there. You know what Big Lots is in Homewood?
Yeah.
Do you know where it is? It's actually on Barber. No, it's not Barber. It's on Valley Avenue, and you make a left. There's a little Marathon gas station. You make that left and go up in there. There's a little college, Virginia College or something. Yeah, and you go up that hill, and they're on the left. But it's that's vocational rehab. They're in a high-rise building up in Homewood.
And you know, another thing, maybe we can look into, I know, this lady, she comes here, she has a dog, a little dog named Boo. They come here, and I don't know what they do here with the dog, but I know when my son was in elementary school last year, they came every week, and the kids will read to the dog.
Do
They got to
what?
play with the dog, they will read to the dog.
It's a therapy dog.
Hand and paw.
Yeah, it's a therapy dog. They will
We
read to
have
them.
therapy
They got-
dogs and she doesn't care who about it.
Well, no, I'm saying, no, she don't care about the dogs. But I'm saying maybe we can take her to the school and the kids can read to her. Like they do
Yeah,
dogs.
you can do. I mean that I know at because my kids go to McAdory, and that's near where she lives. I know at McAdory they're always asking for people to come in and do some stuff, and then they have their classes for kids with special needs. They also do some additional stuff for them, have other people come in and read to them or volunteer and things like that. So like I said, it might be worth just finding out what they have available, and if I remember, I know if you like them on Facebook, McAdory Elementary, they post a lot of stuff about what they have going on and they need volunteers for. But my son's going to middle school, so I won't be getting all those alerts. But I know somebody that will, and if I get them, I don't mind emailing them to you to let you know that they have some things going on. But that just might be something. So I'll add that to our first steps, looking at.
And just seeing what's qualifications or.
Yeah.
She have been to schools, like on Cat in the Hat Day. At my kids' school, I went and I read. Well, I know we must have been somewhere else, but we went to school.
You tell on yourself.
And I took her, and I put her in a circle. All the kids got in a circle around me. I put Bridget there too, and I read green eggs and ham to them. She did pretty good.
When they have Dr. Zeus week, they have be drug free week. They have all kinds of different stuff at the school that you don't have to go through the background check and all that, because it's just for that one time. And I do think that would be a barrier for her to have to be obligated as like a mentor or a routine volunteer.
I just said that to say this, that Bridget she goes to a lot of places they don't know about. And it costs us nothing. in a safe environment. But she goes to a lot of
But
places
that's
where
how
she
you
can
learn.
interact with kids.
That's how you learn what's
She put on a
meaningful
community
to her.
list, cause Dawn gets that community visits list. And she
And
always
and
asks
Dawn,
her.
can you provide
I think
them
it's
with
on there,
some
the
additional
schools.
Yeah, I think so,
information? Do y'all?
I send them stuff.
Yeah,
I
but
send
it's,
Yeah.
stuff too.
it's usually at
It's
night
after
time.
hours, after 5.
Yeah,
I
a lot
do.
of stuff
Yeah,
happens
most of
after
it's at
hours.
night and like 8 o'clock or something, and she can't.
It's
do
the-
it.
And do y'all have any?
Well, I know that the festivals are on the weekends.
Mhm.
I know that, cause you know, this time of year is,
Yeah. So Dawn, have you?
Got no problem taking her out after 5, but.
most of
it
what
don't
we've
get
done
dark
with Voc
about
Rehab is people who are, doing like job searches.
Let me,
I don't
we
know if
have
they
a
do
lady
any-
that works at the regional office, her name is Virginia.
Yeah, Maddox.
Yes, she's a good contact because you can talk with her and let her know that employment is not the goal, but you're looking for some volunteer opportunities specific to children's stuff. And she can get with Voc Rehab. She has a direct contact there that she can find out some information. So you can just shoot her an email because we
Got it.
we don't have an office to work in right now, so we are just kind of spread out. But she's a good point of contact. And we also have a ADMH staff that works directly at Voc Rehab as well. That's employed by the department. So that's another point of contact. But I don't want us to go past our time. And the last one I wanted to incorporate in here is
Communication.
the communication. Yes.
No more. It's all gone. No more. It's all gone.
That was a lovely book.
And I've already added the first step would be the communication binder. And the first steps are kind of the things you do beforehand when you get ready to actually write your learning opportunities. And I know that the first thing is, how are we going to make this measurable? How are we going to do this? The easiest thing to do is, of course, with making the coffee. That's just a step-by-step process, implementing her. If it's nothing more than starting off with her just filling the actual cup that she's going to drink out of with water. That just could be your first step in the learning opportunity, or getting her to actually pick up the cup and give it to you to put in the water. So whatever her skill level is, when you assess her, baseline her, start with that and then work your way up. It might be 3 years before she can actually push the button to make the coffee. But if it's better to start off with her just getting her cup and passing it to staff or whomever's going to help her make the coffee, that would be your first step with that. With the having say in her life and choices, I think you can tie that right into this schedule thing, working with her monthly on just talking about activities that she might be presented with, and having an option of where if she refuses to do the pool thing, the library thing will be the other option. So she's making a choice between going to the pool, going to the library. Or it could be going to Target versus going to Chick-fil-A. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just giving her an option. If you get there and she doesn't want to get out, or she starts screaming or whatever, then you give her the other option. And that's her way of making that choice if she doesn't give you a yes or no.
So like a learning opportunity, measurable thing for that would be, how many times did Bridget say she didn't want to go to the first choice?
Yeah.
Did she go into the first choice today, or did she say no today?
Yeah, and then you could say, you could measure it based on how many times she chose to go swimming versus shopping, or swimming versus eating, or shopping versus library. You can do it through the two and determine which one is her preferred activity. And once you determine that preferred activity, then you can incorporate that more into her schedule. Not saying she doesn't have to do the unpreferred activity, but the preferred activity be incorporated in a little bit more.
Top priority.
Yeah. So, and you can always send it to me after you do it, email it to me, and I can email you back and let you know I would change this, or this looks good, or make it measurable in this way. You don't have to make it measurable via percentages. You can make it measurable using 3 out of 3 trials, 3 out of 12, 4, you know what I'm saying? You can measure it that way.
Okay.
So So you can do that. With the being around children, I think that's gonna be more of a support, a participation activity. Finding something for her to do and she participate in it. And you can make it measurable by using a timer. You can say she'll participate in it for 30 minutes or get up to 30 minutes and try to time her. She stayed 10 minutes this time. She stayed 15 minutes the next time. And her ultimate goal is to be 30 minutes. So that can make it measurable for you. Measuring time versus percentages. It's a little bit easier than that. And with the communication, communicating with others, that's gonna be more of a support as well. And it's really not necessarily tied to Bridget, but it's tied to more of the people that support her and the people that come in to understand her language and what a scream means, or, you know, if she pinches you, it means this, you know what I'm saying? Whatever her ways of communicating is.
And I think it would be good to record that, like if you guys see her going for a magazine, take a picture of that. So we could put it in a workbook, say this is what this is her pointing to the magazine, or this is her doing that.
Some of the key things I learned on Tuesday is just like her routine. That's probably the most important thing that she can communicate. She ready to go now? Oh, she wants more soda. But I would say with that is that if she likes to have her shower at 8:30, then they need to know after she gets out the shower, put her socks on first, then her underwear, then, you know what I'm saying, what order she likes to have things done in. And that would be more for your new staff and people that come in.
So how are we measuring a communication goal like that?
Well, I wouldn't tie that necessarily into a communication goal. I would use it more for a support for the staff. But when you look at a communication goal, I would look at something like using her
Tech Talk.
That's what it's called. Using her tech talk. And you could actually tie that tech talk into either one of these. You could just add it into, like, let's just say making coffee, using her tech talk. If she has a drink or a coffee picture, when she goes to make it or staff goes to make it with her, they can just tell her, we're about to make coffee, push the coffee button. Boom. She
So
do
we
it.
we would continue the current technology?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, I would. And then if she's passed off on it, just modify the steps or modify.
Increase the percentage.
Yeah, how she's going to do it. Because I think that's important, especially if when she can't communicate clearly with others, it causes her to have, you know, these things going on. Which with these 4 things, this causes this barrier to be worse. The community stigmas. You know, when she's out in public and she's screaming and she's biting herself and things like that. So people then are afraid to approach, or they see her again, they'll remember, oh, that was the lady that, you know, the last time she was here, this happened. So trying to reduce that will help reduce some of that stigma that is on her. And please believe, all of these right here, you can turn into a goal. I mean, there's nothing up here like colorful things. She loves bright colors. So how can we incorporate, she paints now at home, right? She does, she has her colorful toys that
She got light bright sheets.
She got all kind of colorful stuff.
So that's what I'm saying. So you can, it's all kinds of ways you can incorporate colorful things using flashcards. You can use, like she stems a lot, so maybe textured things that are different colors, things that have the same textures
She
as
got a lot of
tab.
stuff her sister. Like she
You
said,
already
in that
doing it.
video.
So you can just
Yeah.
make it measurable. You can just incorporate those things in there and make it measurable, because you're justifying it in the plan when you start talking about what's important to her.
And that'd be part of the choices activity.
Right, right. And then you could do nature. If you could some kind of way hot glue some stuff to those textured things like leaves and sticks and things like that, and get her to kind of choose between those things. That's a way of stimulating her with the texture she's like and incorporating nature into what she likes to do. It's almost like thinking outside the box when it comes to it. And like I said, I'll give you my card, Miss Jane, and you can call me and throw some ideas at me and I'll throw some back. Even with the tearing of paper, you can do that as a support. If she tears it up, then your learning opportunity, which I know you guys are doing it, but you can measure it, is just picking it up, and throwing those things away. But you can make it measurable through your support plan.
So I'm kind of thinking if we're looking at objectives that go along with the learning opportunities, choices would be leisure time activities,
Mhm.
and then choosing those, and then choosing community activities. Those are the two areas. And then just within that, it's picking up is just part of living at home.
Right.
And I don't know that she likes that.
She don't like it,
But I
but
don't
she
like
will
cleaning my
do
house
it.
either.
Right.
And then as far as the making coffee, figuring out the sequential steps that she's gonna need to be independent with that, and starting with just, I'm even thinking, getting a water jug where she has to push the button and hold the cup under it.
Oh, yeah.
So that she
Yeah.
doesn't have to pour, she just can push and hold, which is gonna be a precursor to pulling that
Yeah.
whatever
Like a
down.
beatery kind of funnel thing.
And then giving it to the staff. So I have to think through the steps of making coffee.
How many learning opportunities do you guys have to have?
I don't know that we have to have any, it's just building around, right now, we've got 4.
Okay.
One thing that we haven't hit on here that we should, that makes a difference. She tends to be mechanical.
Mm-hmm.
Now, like when we put in the chair lifts, Jane said, the first thing, Dad, maybe we can just teach her to put her hand here, and maybe after a few months she'll know that. You know how long it took her? One day. And she figured out, that moves.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And she knows where all the light switches are.
And she
Because she
makes sure all the
likes,
lights
like
are
I
turned
said, she
down.
likes STEM. You can tell she likes to
She's
stimulate
very
herself.
mechanical.
She loves
You
it.
should see her put puzzles together, that still amazes me. I mean, it's just, no matter, I mean, she'll put a puzzle together just like that.
Guys, she's never done it, but I would love to see her in just somebody else's chair, wheelchair that was movable.
I was gonna
I just
ask
want to
you
see
that.
what she'd do.
I was gonna
I think
ask,
she'd just take off.
as far as her health and safety, and also, I'm sorry, Bridget, we're almost done. I was gonna ask, if you guys have looked into her having like a mechanical chair versus the transport chair. Not to use all the time, but when you think about independence in her home, independence in her community, being able to kind of navigate places she wants to go without having to wait on staff, it might be a great idea to have that available to her, and I know that Medicaid will pay for it. I'm almost positive 100% if she's never had one. And it could be one specific, and it doesn't have to be one of those that's got all the gadgets on it. It could just be one that has a little joystick or the little button for forward and back.
Ooh, we'd never be able to catch her.
I know it.
We'd have to
I
have a
know
kill
it.
switch on it.
Yeah, we can slow the speed down on it.
Yep, and they have the ones that you can turn off
From a remote or something?
her control, and it can be controlled from the back of it by someone else.
That would be helpful just even for the staff, because she's a ton of weight, and there are some ramps that are not wheelchair friendly. They look like they are, and
Yeah.
they're not, but
Yeah.
a motorized one would overcome that.
Yeah.
Hauling that chair. How would we
We'd have to
haul
look
a
into that.
motorized chair?
Well,
Now,
they have the ones that break away. The back separates from the rails come
Aren't
off
they
and the
heavy?
back separate. Well, the bottom part, but you got the ones that the motor comes off of too, the battery pack.
That's gonna be a lot of
controls
work. If we have an appointment, we gotta break it down, put it together, and put her in.
it.
and-
Well, you still have the transport chair as an option.
Okay.
So this
And
could be for more leisure activities.
I was gonna say, I'm thinking if you're gonna use get a motorized chair, try it with her at home to see
What
how
about that
comfortable.
backyard? Would it be able to ride in that backyard so she could go that back swing if she
It
wants?
might, on a dry day. I don't think if it rained 2 days, a day or two before.
Honey, I done seen people on the interstate, on the main straight. I mean, people go there's a
That's a
guy
good
that lives in
point.
my
If you're in the
neighborhood,
backyard,
walks
but
his
you go down
dogs
by
with
the
his
creek.
motorized chair
Yeah.
every morning.
We would have to lay a walk down there really to do it, which can be done.
Yeah, we could put a walk down there.
Yeah.
And I'm just
I
thinking
just wanna see what
because
she'd do
of
with, like, she
her,
probably really enjoy it.
because
She would
we've
learn to
discussed that.
operate it, I'm sure of that.
And because we've discussed that her ability to walk has consistently declined over the past year, and she doesn't like really having to depend on people when she's ready to do something, she's ready to do it. So that would be great to kind of help her within her home be able to have some independence or in her own yard. And in those settings, like where the pool is, I wouldn't take her in a motorized chair. The pool, she might drive off in the water or something, trying to get out of there. But you know, just in those places where you can, like at the park.
That's a park I was thinking about,
Yeah.
yeah.
So when
Yeah,
you're
go around
walking,
Walking trail, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's a good idea.
yeah. And
She
then that
still
could be a
needs-
learning opportunity.
She still needs her mobility though, so we don't want to depend on that.
Oh, no. And you could have it where she uses it, in the home maybe 30 minutes a day.
Yeah.
And you time, 30 minutes a day. And then in the community, of course, she's not really walking by herself when she's out in the community anyway. So mainly she's getting her exercise at home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So when she's at home, you just have a set amount of time to keep her walking as much as she's able to and supporting her own weight within her home.
Yeah.
Dawn, would that require any additional waiver requests?
Just depends on if Medicaid paid for her last wheelchair or not. They only cover one
This-
every
No,
10
she paid
years.
for this. Well, Medicaid paid for her first wheelchair in Illinois.
How many years? Every
That's-
2 years?
That
10.
was
Every 10 years.
20 years.
Yeah, so they would have to go, they'd have to get a new script. They'd have to, the doctor would have to write a script to do a referral for a wheelchair fitting. And I
They can do
think
that
Spain
here.
Rehab is
I have,
doing most of the wheelchair fittings, and then from there, depending on your zip code now, depends on who services you. It used to be DME or whoever you chose, and I'm not sure who does her zip code. I know like Pelham has national seating, and I can't think of the other place that services Pelham.
she went to physical therapy at Lakeshore last year when she saw her PT. He was able to give her some of that. Can I go back and get a hold of him again? Is that still something? Because he was
If it's
at
been a
that-
year, they're gonna require a new script anyway.
Yeah.
Or you can call
Because
them.
they're only
I
good
think you can
for
call and see.
a year at a time. Usually the scripts expire.
Okay.
You can call and they probably will do it without having to see her again. Or you can get her primary care doctor who followed her care along for most of her life
Yeah.
to do it, so.
Yeah, 'cause
And most
he
of the
had a
time, they
fitting
don't even
for
require you to come in, they'll just write it. And
Yeah, 'cause he
especially
already
y'all
had a
talked
fitting
about it
on
before.
the, for the wheelchair too,
Yeah.
so that
All
probably
right,
should.
but there has to be some limits on using it, because she has to.
Yeah, I mean, it can't go around the house anyway,
Yeah, it'd be tough. We'd have to retro it out.
So-
We'd have to refit
it'd
it.
have to be outside the house.
Which I'm okay with. I think walking inside the house,
Yeah, she got this get up, so
Exactly.
keep her moving
Cause
inside.
that's
the house.
basically the only time she's moving anyway,
Anyway.
going to the dinner table, going to the lift to go
In the
outside, or
car.
to go to the bathroom and walk to the bedroom. So she's not walking a whole lot anyway.
Bridget, you got a made girl, made in the shade. Well, do you guys have any questions for me? I know I pushed out a lot of information. It's a little bit of time.
What about with her hands not opening? Is there something that we have in mind for her hands?
You're not doing the therapy with that?
Yeah, that's what I was saying the other day. As long as we've been doing it, it seemed like it would have done something by now.
I just think that's part of aging
Okay.
with someone who has physical handicaps and just keeping it as limber as possible. And there's gonna come a point, unfortunately, where it's gonna be beyond
Well, there's no damage to her inside her hand.
I mean,
so
as
you know
someone
we
who has
taking care of
arthritis,
that.
So she knows how to open it herself if she
Well,
wants
and
to.
that's critical, but as someone who has arthritis, it's just, it is what it is. And I can try and do what I wanna do and lift weights and all that, but it's still there.
Will she, hold something in there to keep her fingers?
We used to have
Wrist.
a wristband, yeah, wrist brace.
Which she ripped off.
She
Yeah,
didn't
she won't
enjoy
keep
it.
those on. She only keep it, I brought it with us. She keep it
Ah,
on.
look,
the
she's
wall.
getting mad about it already.
Yeah, she's already now. She was mad when we went to her room.
Yeah.
But, she has to have that brace to walk on her crutches now anyway.
Mhm.
So I open her hand throughout the day anyway, just doing that alone. So,
I'm sorry, I'm finna let you go.
And I just think that's part of quality of life, getting that going. I wouldn't stop.
No,
I
I'm
know
still
you
doing
can buy
hand
those,
exercise.
spongy kind of things, those.
I've gotten her the variety of the hand stimulation.
yeah,
She jumps in.
She don't like those.
I've tried a lot.
If the color don't stimulate her, she's not gonna play with it. And then even if she plays with it, it's not gonna be too long.
Yeah.
She even had to light up, can't
Oh,
she
I was
got
gonna
to
ask
light
about
up.
that.
No.
She
Jane
gets bored
on
easily.
it. Jane is on it. She gets the stuff
She
that's
bored easily.
stimulated.
She wanna do what she's doing now.
Mm-hmm.
And if we don't make her get up, she's not gonna do it. She don't care if she
Yeah.
goes.
Okay, so these will be our four goals to start. If they get completed in the next few months, we can go to another couple goals based off of our important two meets. Or we can keep
Or the barriers. Your barriers can also serve as goals.
limiting the barriers as a goal.
Yeah. You can use your barriers as a goal just because, see, the communication became a goal because it's a barrier and it directly affects everything else that's important to and important for her. Same thing with the mobility. You can actually try to incorporate some of that in there. Do some standing exercises for time. Use the hand, the range of motion with the hands. You can use that for as a learning opportunity. I mean, I probably could have listed 10 things up there, you know, just based off of the barriers. But what I wanted to focus on were the things that were most important to her. And those were the 4 things that stood out. But even if those barriers hinder those 4 things, you start with the barrier and work your way toward the goal.
Perfect.
And see, your first steps are just the things you're gonna do to gather information to develop your goals. Once you get your information, you'll know, okay, I can do these things. That's why I put up there maybe restructuring her schedule to accommodate additional activities. I put changing the time she goes to the pool to various times. That might be something you incorporate in your choices with choosing various activities.
I think it's been good this year to have added in the other activities that she's tried, because now you know what she doesn't love.
Yes.
And maybe some new things that you didn't know that she did like now. And with what you're saying, it's so true. If she's going to 1,400 places, she's not developing any kind of relationship. So narrowing it down now to where she prefers to go, and then trying to get people to go, hey, Bridget, how's it going?
Yeah.
Okay. So moving forward, to-do list. I hopefully have some of the learning, hopefully we get the learning objectives down by the end of the weekend.
Probably not, because
with
you've
the
got some stuff.
To-do list.
Yeah.
So then maybe
Just being
by the beginning of July.
I was gonna say, give yourself a couple of weeks to the end of the month to get the first steps, because you gotta contact other people, wait for callbacks, you know,
Yep.
that takes some time to do. And you have 30 days from the day of the meeting to actually implement your plan.
Perfect, so let's plan on starting on July 1st, if everything goes well with the new plan. And throughout June, we'll continue with the old plan and goals.
And utilize Dawn, she got a lot of resources.
Yeah,
I'm
Don,
interested to see if Beaubree has some ideas. And I don't know, I'm coming from a different state, so I just know in Georgia they are wonderful.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they do a lot of employment here, but they do have, if people are not employable, they do assist them with volunteer opportunities.
Okay, that's about the end of our meeting. Does anybody else have anything to say, or comment, questions? I'd like to thank everybody for coming here today and supporting Bridget, and helping her design the next 12 months of her life.